My name is Vivian Cross. I am 34 years old. For the first 29 years of my life I was a prisoner in my own family. Not a prisoner with bars and locks, but a prisoner of expectations, of judgment, of the constant feeling that I was never quite good enough. My parents, Margaret and Richard, had a vision for my life, and I had spent every moment of my existence failing to live up to it. Every choice I made was measured against an invisible yardstick, and every time I fell short, I felt the weight of their disappointment pressing down on me like a physical force. My mother is a former beauty queen turned real estate agent. She has never met a mirror she didn't love or a criticism she didn't feel entitled to deliver. She is the kind of woman who can make you feel like a failure with a single glance, who can reduce you to tears with a well-timed sigh. She has spent my entire life comparing me to my older sister, Penelope, who is everything I am not, successful, polished, and perfectly compliant with our parents' expectations. My father is a retired corporate lawyer who still wears his power like a second skin. He measures success in square footage, stock portfolios, and the right zip code. He has never understood why I didn't want to follow in his footsteps, why I chose a career in social work instead of corporate law, why I couldn't just be like Penelope. He has spent my entire life telling me I could do better, be better, want better. Together they created a world where love was conditional, where approval was earned, and where I was always falling short. I was the daughter who didn't marry a doctor. I was the daughter who didn't become a lawyer. I was the daughter who chose a career in social work instead of corporate law, who lived in a modest apartment instead of a gated community, who dated men my parents deemed beneath me. Every choice I made was a disappointment. Every decision was a battle. Every visit home was an exercise in endurance, a careful dance around the minefield of their expectations. And then, 5 years ago, I met Daniel. Daniel is a high school history teacher. He makes less in a year than my father's quarterly bonus. He drives a 10-year-old sedan with a dent in the passenger door. He lives in a small house in a working-class neighborhood that my mother would describe as charming, with a tone that made it clear she meant the opposite. He is kind, patient, and unfailingly decent. He is the best man I have ever known. He is the kind of man who remembers the little things, who shows up when it matters, who loves without conditions. He is everything my parents never knew how to be. And my parents despise him. They don't know him, they've never bothered to. They saw his job title, his salary, his address, and they made their judgment. They called him a loser. They called him beneath me. They said I was throwing my life away, that I was settling, that I could do so much better. They said I was embarrassing the family by dating someone like him. They said I was wasting my potential, my education, my future. I tried to explain. I tried to tell them about his kindness, his intelligence, his unwavering integrity. I tried to tell them that he made me happier than I had ever been. I tried to tell them that love was more important than money, that character was more important than status. They didn't listen. They couldn't listen. They were too busy being disappointed, too busy worrying about what the neighbors would think, too busy protecting their precious reputation. The breaking point came at a family dinner. My mother had invited Daniel to meet the extended family, and I had been foolish enough to believe it was a gesture of goodwill. I should have known better. I should have seen it for what it was, an ambush, a chance for them to humiliate him in front of everyone to prove that he didn't belong. The evening was a slow-motion disaster. My mother asked pointed questions about his salary. My father made jokes about teachers being overpaid, in a tone that made it clear he thought they were underworked. My sister, Penelope, the perfect one, the one who had married a neurosurgeon and lived in a house with a swimming pool, asked Daniel if he had any plans to do something more ambitious with his life. Daniel handled it with grace. He smiled. He answered politely. He didn't defend himself because he didn't need to. He knew who he was. But I saw the hurt in his eyes, the quiet resignation of a man who had been judged and found wanting by people who didn't know the first thing about him. I saw the way he held himself, the way he kept his shoulders back and his chin up, refusing to let them see how much their words strung. And I felt a rage building inside me, a fury I had never allowed myself to feel before. I drove home that night in tears. Daniel held my hand and told me it was okay, that he didn't care what they thought, that he loved me. But I cared so much. I cared that the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally had treated the man I loved with such casual cruelty. I cared that they had made him feel small. I cared that they had made me complicit in their cruelty by staying silent, by not defending him, by not standing up for him. I cared that I had failed him, failed us, failed the life we were trying to build together. That night I made a decision. I was done. I called my parents the next day and told them I wouldn't be coming to dinner anymore. I told them I wouldn't be attending family gatherings. I told them I wouldn't be subjecting Daniel to their judgment ever again. I told them they could call me when they were ready to accept my choices, to respect my partner, to treat me like an adult instead of a disappointment. Until then, I had nothing to say to them. My mother laughed. She actually laughed. She said I was being dramatic, that I would come around, that I couldn't survive without them. My father said I was being ungrateful, that they had given me everything, that I was throwing it all away for a man who would never amount to anything. He said I was embarrassing myself, embarrassing the family, embarrassing everything they had worked so hard to build. I hung up. I didn't call them back. I didn't respond to their texts. I didn't answer their letters. I simply closed the door on that chapter of my life and walked away. 5 years of silence. 5 years of no phone calls, no holiday dinners, no birthday cards. 5 years of being the black sheep, the one who had abandoned the family, the one who had chosen love over status. 5 years of my mother telling anyone who would listen that I had lost my mind, that I had been brainwashed, that I had thrown my life away. 5 years of my father pretending I didn't exist, of him telling his golf buddies that he had no daughter, that I had died to him. 5 years of my sister sending me long, tearful emails begging me to come home. To make things right, to stop being so stubborn. But I didn't regret it, not for a single moment. I missed them, of course. I missed the idea of them, the hope that they would one day become the parents I needed. I missed the family dinners, the holiday traditions, the familiar comfort of being surrounded by people who shared my history. But I didn't miss the pain. I didn't miss the judgment. I didn't miss the constant feeling that I was never enough. I didn't miss the weight of their expectations, the burden of their disappointment, the endless cycle of hopping and failing and hopping again. And I had Daniel. I had his steady presence, his quiet strength, his unwavering love. I had a partner who saw me for who I really was, not who I was supposed to be. I had a partner who loved me without conditions, who supported me without judgment, who believed in me without reservation. I had a life that was my own, free from the weight of my parents' expectations. We built a life together. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't wealthy. But it was ours. We bought a small house with a garden, we adopted a dog, we travelled to places that didn't require first-class tickets. We were happy, truly, deeply happy. The kind of happy that comes from being loved for who you are, not for what you have. The kind of happy that comes from building something together, brick by brick, day by day. And then, 6 months ago, my sister called. Penelope and I had never been close. She was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She had always looked at me with a mixture of pity and superiority, as if my failures were a personal affront to her success. She had always been the one who got everything, who was praised for everything, who was loved unconditionally. But she was still my sister, and when she called, I answered. "Vivian," she said, her voice strained. "Mom is sick, she has cancer, stage 3, it's serious. She's been asking about you, she wants to see you, she wants to make things right." I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to feel. I had spent 5 years building walls around my heart, protecting myself from their judgment. And now those walls were being tested. I felt a storm of emotions, fear, hope, anger, sadness, confusion. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could face them again. I told Daniel about the call. I told him about my mother's diagnosis. I told him about the fear and hope and confusion that was swirling inside me. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took my hand and said, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you. If you want to see her, we'll go together. If you don't, I'll support that too. But Vivian, I think you should go. I think you need closure one way or another. And I think it would mean a lot to her." I knew he was right. I knew I needed to see her. I needed to say the things I had never been able to say. I needed to forgive her, or at least try. And I needed to show her that I was happy, that I had built a life she could never have imagined for me. I needed to prove to myself that I was strong enough to face them, that I was no longer the scared, insecure girl who had run away 5 years ago. So we made plans, we booked flights, we packed our bags, and we went home. The drive to my parents' house felt like a journey into the past. Every familiar landmark, every turn in the road, every memory came flooding back. I remembered the first time I had brought a boy home, a sweet, awkward teenager who had stammered his way through dinner while my father grilled him about his college plans. I remembered the first time I had disappointed them, the first time I had failed to live up to their expectations, the first time I had felt the weight of their disappointment like a physical blow. I remembered the long nights of crying, the feelings of inadequacy, the desperate hope that I could somehow become the daughter they wanted. I remembered the quiet pain of knowing that I never would. Daniel reached over and took my hand. He didn't say anything, he didn't have to, his presence was enough. He was my anchor, my safe harbor. With him beside me, I felt like I could face anything. His hand was warm, steady, reassuring. It reminded me that I wasn't alone, that I had someone who believed in me, someone who would stand by me no matter what. We pulled into the driveway. The house looked exactly as I remembered it, grand, imposing, a monument to my parents' success. The lawn was perfectly manicured. The flowers were immaculate. Everything was in its place. Nothing had changed. It was like walking into a museum of my childhood, a carefully preserved relic of a time I had tried so hard to escape. I took a deep breath. Daniel squeezed my hand. We got out of the car. My mother opened the door before we could knock. She looked older than I remembered, thinner, her hair thinner, her skin paler. The cancer had taken its toll, but her eyes were the same, sharp, assessing, searching for flaws. She looked at me, then at Daniel, and I saw the flicker of judgment in her eyes, the quick calculation of his worth. "Vivian," she said, "you came." "I came," I said. "This is Daniel." She looked at him. I saw her take in his clothes, his posture, his gentle smile. I saw her decide. And then she surprised me. She smiled, a real smile, not the practiced one she used at dinner parties. "Welcome, Daniel," she said. "Thank you for coming. Please come in." I felt a surge of hope. Maybe things could be different. Maybe the cancer had softened her, had made her see what mattered. Maybe she was finally ready to accept my choices. Maybe she had realized in her own way that love was more important than status. I was wrong. The first hour was pleasant. We sat in the living room making small talk. My mother asked about our flight. My father asked about the weather. We talked about neutral things, safe things. It was like being in the presence of strangers who happened to share my last name. The conversation was stilted, awkward, filled with long pauses and careful words. But I could feel the tension building. I could see the judgment lurking behind my mother's eyes. I could hear the criticism waiting behind my father's careful words. They were playing nice, but it was a performance. The real show hadn't started yet. Dinner was served in the formal dining room, the same room where I had been scolded for 1,000 transgressions. The china was the good china, the silver was polished, the crystal gleamed, everything was perfect as always. The table was set with precision, every fork in its proper place, every glass perfectly aligned. It was a table designed for performance, not for intimacy. And then the questions began. "So Daniel," my father said, leaning back in his chair, "Vivian tells me you're a teacher. History, is it?" "Yes, sir," Daniel said. "High school history. I've been teaching for about 12 years now." 12 years. My father nodded slowly, as if he were considering a complex business proposition. "And you're happy with that, with teaching?" "I am," Daniel said. "I love it, it's rewarding work. I get to make a difference in young people's lives." Rewarding, my father smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's one word for it. I suppose it's not about the money for you." Daniel didn't flinch. "No, sir, it's not about the money." My mother leaned forward. "And what about your plans for the future, Daniel? Do you think you'll ever move on to something more ambitious? Administration, perhaps, or maybe something outside of education altogether?" "I'm happy where I am," Daniel said. "I don't feel the need to move on to anything else." "Well," my mother said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "I suppose happiness is important. Though I do wonder if Vivian ever thinks about what might have been. She could have had such a different life, you know." I felt my jaw tighten. "Mom." "It's fine, Vivian," Daniel said, placing his hand over mine. "I understand what she's saying. I'm not the man she would have chosen for you, I know that." "You're right," my father said bluntly. "You're not, but Vivian has always been headstrong. She's always had to learn things the hard way, and she's never been very good at listening to advice." "Richard," my mother said, her voice reproachful, but she didn't stop him, she never did. "I'm not trying to be cruel," my father continued. "I'm just trying to understand. Vivian could have had anyone. She was beautiful, intelligent, ambitious. She could have married a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman. She could have had a life of comfort and security. Instead, she chose this." He gestured vaguely at Daniel, as if he were something distasteful. I felt the anger rising inside me. It was the same anger I had felt 5 years ago, the same anger I had carried with me for years. It was the anger of being dismissed, of being judged, of being made to feel like my choices were wrong, my love was wrong, my life was wrong. "Dad," I said, my voice low, "stop." "Vivian, I'm just being honest," he said. Isn't that what you wanted? Honesty. You've spent 5 years avoiding us, and now that you're here, I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to understand why you threw your life away. I didn't throw my life away, I said. I built a life, a good life. A life with a man who loves me, who respects me, who treats me like an equal. A life that's mine, not yours. My mother laughed. Oh, Vivian, that's very dramatic, but you know, in the real world, marriage is about more than just love. It's about partnership, about building a future together. What kind of future can you build with a teacher? What kind of future can you give your children? We're not planning to have children, I said. Then what's the point? My father asked. What's the point of all of this? You've given up everything, your career, your family, your future, for a man who can't even provide for you. I felt the tears burning behind my eyes. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry. I wanted to grab Daniel's hand and run out the door, but I didn't. I stayed. I stayed because I needed to hear them say it. I needed to hear them say the words that would finally, definitively end any hope of reconciliation. You don't know him, I said. You've never bothered to know him. You saw his job title and his salary and his address, and you made your decision. You didn't see the way he looks at me. You didn't see the way he supports me. You didn't see the way he makes me laugh, the way he makes me feel like I'm enough, the way he's been there for me through everything. He's a teacher, Vivian, my mother said. A high school teacher. He barely makes more than minimum wage. How can you be proud of that? Daniel stood up, slowly, calmly he stood up. I think I should go, he said. Thank you for dinner, it was educational. Daniel, wait, I started. No, Vivian, he said. It's okay, I knew this wouldn't be easy, I knew they wouldn't approve. I came because you asked me to, because I love you. But I can't sit here and let them tear us apart, I won't. He looked at my parents. I know you don't think I'm good enough for your daughter, I know you think I'm beneath her, but the truth is I've never met anyone as strong, as kind, as wonderful as Vivian. She deserves to be happy, and I make her happy, that's all that matters. He walked toward the door, I followed him, I didn't look back. We drove home in silence. I was crying, tears streaming down my face, but I didn't try to stop them. I let them flow. I let them carry away the years of hurt, the years of judgment, the years of hoping that my parents would one day become the people I needed them to be. I let them carry away the pain, the anger, the disappointment. I let them wash over me like a cleansing rain. Daniel reached over and took my hand. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He was there, and that was enough. His presence was a comfort, a reminder that I was not alone, that I had someone who loved me, someone who believed in me. I'm sorry, I finally said. I shouldn't have made you go through that. I shouldn't have hoped that things would be different. I should have known. You had to try, Vivian, he said. You had to give them a chance, and now you know, now you can let go. I nodded. He was right. I had tried. I had given them a chance, and they had failed. They had failed in the worst possible way, but I was done. I was done hopping, done trying, done waiting for them to become the people I needed them to be. I was done carrying the weight of their expectations, the burden of their disappointment. I was done letting their judgment define my worth. We pulled into our driveway. The house was small, modest, a fraction of the size of my parents' mansion. But it was ours. It was home. It was the place where I felt safe, where I felt loved, where I felt like I belonged. We went inside. I made tea. Daniel sat beside me on the couch, his arm around my shoulders, his presence a steady comfort. He didn't try to fix things. He didn't try to make it better. He just sat with me, holding me, letting me feel what I needed to feel. I'm going to write them a letter, I said. I'm going to tell them everything I've been holding back. I'm going to tell them how I feel, and then I'm going to let them go. He nodded. I think that's a good idea. I wrote the letter that night. I wrote for hours, pouring out all the words I had never been able to say. I told them about the years of pain, the years of judgment, the years of hoping that they would one day accept me. I told them about Daniel, about his kindness, his intelligence, his unwavering love. I told them that I was happy, that I had built a life I was proud of, that I didn't need their approval to be happy. I told them that I loved them. But I couldn't keep trying to win their approval. I told them that I was done. And then I told them goodbye. Not in anger, not in bitterness, just goodbye. I told them I would always love them, but I couldn't keep trying to win their approval. I couldn't keep subjecting myself to their judgment. I couldn't keep hoping that they would become the parents I needed. I told them that I was letting go, that I was moving on, that I was choosing myself and my happiness. I sent the letter the next morning. I didn't wait for a reply, I didn't expect one, I just let it go. A few weeks later, I got a call from my sister. Vivian, she said, her voice strange. I got your letter, Mom and Dad did too. Okay, I said. They're not taking it well. They want to talk to you. They want to make things right. I didn't say anything for a long moment. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that they had finally understood, that they had finally changed. But I had been burned too many times. I had been hurt too many times. I had been disappointed too many times. I'll think about it, I said, but I can't promise anything. Just think about it, Penelope said. That's all I'm asking. I hung up. I sat in my kitchen, staring at the wall, thinking about my parents, thinking about the years of pain, thinking about the hope that I had carried for so long, the hope that one day they would see me, really see me and love me for who I was, thinking about the disappointment, the rejection, the endless cycle of hopping and failing. I thought about Daniel. I thought about the life we had built together. I thought about the happiness I had found, the happiness that had nothing to do with their approval. I thought about the peace I had found, the peace that came from letting go of their expectations. And I made a decision. I would talk to them, but I would talk to them on my terms. I would not beg, I would not plead, I would not shrink myself to make them comfortable. I would be myself, and if that wasn't enough, I would walk away. The meeting was held at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant in a town halfway between our houses. My parents arrived first. They looked older, more fragile, but their eyes were the same, sharp, assessing, searching for flaws. I walked in with Daniel. I held his hand. I would not let go. Vivian, my mother said, thank you for coming. Thank you for asking, I said. Daniel, you remember my parents? Daniel nodded, of course. We sat down. The table was small, intimate, a strange setting for a conversation that had been years in the making. My mother spoke first. Vivian, I read your letter, we both did. We were upset. We didn't understand why you would write something so cruel. I wasn't trying to be cruel, I said. I was trying to be honest. I was trying to tell you how I feel. We know you were trying to be honest, my father said, but we don't understand why you would want to cut us out of your life like that. We're your family, we love you. I know you love me, I said, but the way you show that love hurts. It hurts me and it hurts Daniel. You judge us, you criticize us, you make us feel like we're not good enough. And we are good enough, we are more than good enough, we are happy, we are loved, we are enough. My mother was quiet for a long moment, then she spoke, her voice soft. I know we hurt you, I know we made mistakes. We were trying to protect you, we wanted you to have the best life possible, we wanted you to be happy. I am happy, I said. I have never been happier, and I'm happy because of Daniel. He makes me happy, he makes me feel like I matter. He makes me feel like I'm enough, and I will not let you destroy that. We're not trying to destroy it, my father said. We're trying to understand it. We're trying to understand why you chose this life, this man, over the life we wanted for you. Because it's my life, I said. Not yours, mine. I get to choose, I get to decide what makes me happy. And this, I gestured to Daniel, to myself, to the life we had built together. This is what makes me happy. This is what I choose. My mother reached across the table and took my hand. Her hand was cold, bony, fragile. We love you, Vivian, we always have, we didn't know how to show it. I squeezed her hand. I love you too, Mom, but love isn't enough, not if it comes with conditions, not if it comes with judgment. I need you to accept me, I need you to accept Daniel, I need you to accept the life I've chosen. Can you do that? Can you love me without trying to change me? She was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. I can try. That's all I'm asking. It hasn't been easy. There have been setbacks, arguments, moments when I wondered if we had made a mistake. But we've kept trying, we've kept talking. We've kept building a bridge between us, brick by brick, word by word. It has been a slow, painful process filled with awkward silences and uncomfortable conversations, but we've made progress. We've started to heal. My parents still don't fully understand Daniel. They still don't fully approve of the life I've chosen. But they're trying. And that's more than I ever hoped for. They've started to ask questions, real questions about Daniel's life, his work, his passions. They've started to see him as a person, not just a job title. They've started to see me as an adult, not just a disappointment. As for Daniel, he's been patient, he's been kind, he's been the steady presence I needed. He never gave up on me, never gave up on us. He believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He loved me when I felt unlovable. And for that I will be eternally grateful. He has shown me what unconditional love looks like, what it feels like to be truly seen and accepted. I have learned a lot over the past 5 years. I have learned that family is not about blood, it is not about obligation, it is not about money, It is about love, it is about showing up. It is about choosing each other even when it's hard, even when it's painful, even when it seems impossible. I have learned that love is not a transaction, not something you earn or deserve. It is a gift, freely given, freely received. My parents humiliated Daniel at that dinner. They tried to break us, but they couldn't. Because our love was stronger than their judgment. Our love was stronger than their fear. Our love was stronger than anything they could throw at us. We weathered the storm together, and we came out stronger on the other side. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all.